Let me explain to you the genetic ethnicity of the Bretons with an O, Tons, also called a Juct, Jucte. They kind of have a goblinish nose, sometimes a hard face. Often, when they choose to do so, they can appear very attractive. They're the dynastic descent after the O'Neill rule of Ireland, Britain, and France, north of the mountains of France. Most of France is uninhabitable. It's mountains, highlands, plateaus. The Jukes have simple jobs. King Arthur is a woman, and Lancelot is a man until they get married, and Lancelot's King Arthur, and the woman is Guinevere. They explain it for you. I'm Kurdish, and I wrote myself into Mordred on assignment for them to make their legend. I'm Crown Prince Charles II by distant ethnicity, so I win. Tuesdays with Maury. Nice job, Obama family. You wrote yourselves as Muhammad Ali Maury. Very good. So let's go into a famous Jute. The actor behind Grand Moff Tarkin. He knows you want to work for him because he played Grand Moff Tarkin. And that's the best. They have been tracking their history for thousands of years in individual families. Moff Tarkin's been fighting in Africa since the 1300s, and they know just how it happened, how Britain got into Africa. A low-ranking cop infantryman beat up a man, a tall person, a Danish Jew, around Wales or London or something, and he said something offensive. N-I-G. Nig. And whoever beat this guy up was quite concerned about the African problem. We don't know how the Danish Jew makes a racial slur, but they always do it, and we're always trying to fix it until they shows up again. Not show up, shows up. That's the O'Neill wisdom. Now, with the collected Juked histories, let's go in to Grand Moff Tarkin. This family's always fighting wars, the actor behind the character. You see his little crook nose in the flat. And one of them, every generation out of 20 set 3, that's 3 lines, 20 years, has to be an actor. So this actor kidnaps George Lucas after he makes American Graffiti in THX 1138. There were a lot of accidents because of American Graffiti. Hot rodding, Vietnamese warfare, kills of American Marines, drug overdoses. It might not have been on purpose, but THX 1138 has a hologram. And what skin color is he? He's black. The hologram's black. So now, Grand Moff Tarkin suspects this is a Danish Jew. But he's not, because he's not racist. When he speaks racial slurs, he backs off. And he always has to inspect you regardless of who you are on gender, age, skin color, origin, nationality, etc. to see if you work for him. So let's go into Star Wars. Moff Tarkin sketched it out through George Lucas. Moff Tarkin reports to the head of the Jewish Council, Darth Vader. And there's a problem with all these black people in Africa because the Danish Jew got the crown concerned. And yet again, there is a war from Britain based on a wager bet to see if the Danish Jew was offended at being beaten for poisoning somebody. And if he isn't offended, he didn't poison somebody. And all the Danes and Danish Jews across Scandinavia that are going to invade. That means the Danish Jews have to be drafted for infantry, stormtroopers, and sent to Africa for the buried treasure that the Glucksbergs have created the rumor of. The Glucksbergs, of course, being the Emperor Palpatine, because they're down there with a missionary expedition. And at this point, Grand Moff Tarkin has to blow up the planet. And he explains this to you in his whole theory of his family. And that is every Breton on the planet. Now let's simplify this past our genetics, our stage, and our incident of note that you're familiar with as media fans, movies, Star Wars. The Bretons are heterosexual by default. If you think they're gay, your town's queer. They don't get gender. So let's look at the cross-dress of King Arthur. When they were in power, after the O'Neills, they had a simple policy to marry Lancelot as a woman or King Arthur as a man, to gender swap or role swap. You had to get into a knife fight. Actual blades. And you were either poor, accused of being poor versus accused of being poor. And one of you was poor, and the other was accused of being poor by the other. So to marry in, you had to win a knife fight. And they could go on forever. But the question is, does everybody think the male or female Breton is heterosexual after you win the knife fight? Then you can marry and have a spouse who's never the least bit queer. That means there's no arguments. Win.